Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again, here with part 3 of my reaction to Horse, a friend of mine, somebody who I consider a friend anyway, even though I haven't seen him for many years, but former SASR operator, dog handler and patrol commander from what I heard in the intro, and he's here on the I Catch Killers show or podcast, so let's jump back in.
We're going under, maybe not the government. They were asking defence for an outcome. So, military hierarchy. There's Burnsy in the movie, in the documentary, said we won every battle, and said we gave the hierarchy every chance to succeed. But here we are. So essentially, those conditions are very, very similar to what the hunter-kill missions in Vietnam were. And you've got these soldiers going through, taking hits, going over the same area, doing the same job, not having an enduring effect while taking losses. And so you end up with the My Lai massacre. Now, I don't know if everyone's familiar with that.
Yeah. Familiar with it, the US troops and the village in Vietnam.
Yeah, and so you're taking those hits, and then all of a sudden, a good idea fairy, the psychopath in the troop, says, okay, let's do the village. And this is where good leadership comes in. And you go, no, we're not going to do the village. And so I think that the conditions we were put under and the fact that we didn't do that is testament, which then when you come back and get accused of doing that, it hurts.
Yeah, it does.
Man, I'm glad Horse is bringing that up and talking about that. I've been out of the game for a long, long time, as people know. But, he's right. It hurts. It hurts those that have served previously. It hurts those that are currently serving, those that were there during that period of time. You only need to look at, what's the name? Heston Russell. You only need to look at that situation there and the accusations and the impact that it was having not only on him, but also his troops. It's, pretty shocking. And I can only imagine must be very hard to come to terms with. It's been hard for me to listen to some of that stuff and reconcile it, or try to, to imagine that other operators and leadership within the regiment wouldn't squash that, wouldn't stop that as soon as somebody, like Horse said, if some psychopath says, let's do the village, and then you have the leadership there, but even other operators that are there go, no, that's not what we signed up for. That's not what we're here to do. Anyway.
So, and we'll talk in more detail later on in the podcast about the leadership and their reaction. But leadership, I don't know. I think leadership is lacking in so many different areas. And I can relate with police. Hard job. Go out and do it, do all the hard work. If it's a success, you have all these people standing beside you. If there's a hint of problems, everyone distance themselves. And I got sick of that. I saw it in the police. And again, I reference that at a lesser scale than what you guys were facing. And the other thing in
that's real poor leadership, in my opinion, anyway. Leaders that are only going to stand beside you when things are good and everything looks and the sun is shining and bloody it's all sunshine and roses, so to speak, and then if there's a little bit of a grey cloud coming over or things don't look quite right, and then those same leaders that were there in the good times decide they want to pull back, distance themselves, like this guy said.
Service in Afghanistan. In the few people that I've met that were in the SAS, I was surprised by the amount of deployments, and it was only having a one-on-one conversation where it really dawned on me how often new blokes were put downrange.
Yeah, look, I've only just been able to admit in the last couple of years that maybe I did go a few too many times. So, it's an interesting case where in 2007 we were hunting Renato in Timor after he killed all those coppers and the soldiers. And so I went with one squadron to Timor, and then that was January through to April, and I came back from there. I was up with a dog handler, and then was seconded to 3 Squadron, and went 3 weeks later, went off to Afghanistan.
Not much of a decompress or...
No, well, I was very happy to do that at the time too. So, I think maybe the hierarchy need to protect us from ourselves sometimes. And then 2 Squadron came over to Afghanistan to replace 3 Squadron, but they didn't have a dog handler. So I stayed on. So I think I was in Australia for maybe 4 weeks that year, but I deployed with all 3 Squadrons. So I'm pretty proud of that too.
Yeah.
And then from there, just kept rotating. And 2007, 8, 11, 9, 11, 12, yeah.
We talked about that the other day, and I use the analogy, and I think it's apt for it, in that, you're a soldier. If there's something happening, you'll put your hand up for it. That's in the nature of the makeup of you. Yeah. Someone above you needs to look and go, oh, hold it. We do need this bloke to rest. We do need this bloke to just step back, clear his head before we deploy him again. But you're never going to do that. That's the people above. And I think we use the analogy of a trainer in a fighter's corner. Do you want to still go out? The fighter's always going to say yes. Yeah. It's up for the trainer to say, no, you've had enough.
You just throw the towel in for him.
Yeah.
That's a cool analogy, that a trainer in a fighter's corner. I'd never thought of that, but as he speaks about that, I mean, I can connect to. That's the only reason I joined and wanted to get to that unit, was so that I could be utilised and deploy on jobs. And when you get a taste for it, like, that's what you want to do. You want to keep doing that. You want to come back, do training, obviously build up training relevant to the next job. And these guys were clearly doing that, horsing them. And like I said, you're going to be hard pressed to find an operator, I think anyway, that, whether they've just finished a deployment or not, and you come up to them and go, oh, mate, can you stay on, or do you need a break? Do you want to go on leave? I think you'd be hard pressed to find an operator that's going to say, oh yeah, no, I think I need to take this leave rather than stay on here. Most guys, I would imagine, would probably stay on. Those, regardless of where they're at, whether they're guys that have done plenty of rotations or whether they're guys that are just starting out and starting to get a few operations or deployments under their belt. That's where, like what they're talking about, having a patrol commander or a troop commander or an SSM or an OC that can sit back and go, you need to have a break. Good comments, good conversation.
Yeah, and the fighter will get angry, and if they'd have told me that back in the day, I would have been pissed off too.
Yeah.
I would have been throwing all my toys out of the cot.
I understand. Okay, let's wind it back a little bit. The selection course for the SAS. It's notoriously hard. The success rate is minuscule compared to the amount of people that try out. And I should point out, the people that try out for the selection course rate themselves to start with. It's not just Joe Average. It's people that have been, or should be, training for it, preparing for it, and think they've got the attributes for it. What was it about you that thought, I can do this?
I don't know. It's just, it was something that I'd always wanted to do from a little kid. So now I spoke about my grandfather earlier.
I like his answer, I don't know, because I think, in all honesty, even though, like the host said, guys rate themselves and feel ready to go, which I did, no doubt Horst did, and other guys that I've been through with that have gone on and passed. You're not. That's an internal sort of rating of yourself, feeling like, I feel ready for it. It's not. I don't think it's outwardly expressed. I never saw it outwardly expressed by anybody that passed and or that failed. To be honest, apart from what people might perceive from a physical perspective and go, far out there, fellas, well put together, looks like a bodybuilder or whatever, and next minute they're not there. But I like Horse's comment, I don't know, because I don't know that I knew, other than knowing that I wanted to be there in the unit, and just knowing that I was prepared to, at that time, I was prepared to just do whatever I needed to do. I was prepared to do selection again and again and again if I needed to, until I got there. So, yeah, just I suppose an internal drive, and be interesting to hear what more Horse has to say in regards to him.
Now, he was commissioned in Egypt, or some Middle East, and came back to Australia and was sent off with the militia, the reserves, to Bougainville, where he wanted to join the independent company. So special forces, and some of his mates did, but they said, no, we need experienced officers. And so that was always something that was interesting me. So you want to serve at the highest level that you can. And the SAS was always it. So I grew up in like SAS magazines and books and military history. So it was always the goal. And so that was really my why. And so it was never like, I'm a bit worried about this or I'm not going to do it. So it never really entered my mind. And this is where I'd say to people, they go, I want to do selection. I go, well, what's your why? You know, and it's a really interesting question. Well, why? Oh, well, it's a job. No, you can do any job for money. You really need to have it deep entrenched in you. And so I went over there. I said, I'm here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, and they take me or they don't. And I've done everything that I can beforehand to prep before it. And in fact, you get this withdraw and request form, and they give that to you. And I chucked it out.
That's right.
Okay. So I'm here.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear, because I know I've shared this in other, or when I've been interviewed, when I was given that withdraw and request form in Australia, we never got given anything like that in my selection in New Zealand. Like, there wasn't a little piece of paper with the details on it where you put your name and you sign it and date it, etc. And it's got all the other words on there, hereby acknowledging. I can't even remember all the words that I'm withdrawing from the selection of my own, volition, so to speak. But I'd never come across that. Anyway, once we got given them, like Horse said, I waited till there was no staff around and I screwed that thing up and threw it in the rubbish. So I was like, I'm not carrying that around. And I know I think I've spoken about it on the SASR Search for Warriors reactions. Like, just don't carry it with you. Then you can't, like, there's no point even thinking about it. Don't carry it with you. You can't reach into your pocket to look at it and start reading it and then start imagining your name there, then start writing your name there, but then putting it back in. Like, you don't have it on you, so get rid of it. Stoked to hear Horse say that. I think Nick Caldwell, when I spoke with him, when Brian and I interviewed him, I'm pretty sure he said the same as well. I think he ripped it up and got rid of it as well.
For 3 weeks, whatever you need to do, you want me to do. And if you want to get rid of me, so be it.
As a statement, don't have it in your back pocket, get rid of it.
Just throw it out.
Must be the mindset.
Yeah.
There's,
I think, I can't remember who it was that burnt all these ships.
Ancient history.
History, right? Burned all the ships, so it gets the soldiers to fight better. And so
we've got nowhere to go now. It's a good mentality. The perception is it's very physical, which it is, and you have to have mental toughness, but there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a psychological component, I would imagine, that going through that 3-week selection course. Yeah, so
I think anybody can finish selection. Whether you get picked up or not is a different kettle of fish. And so a lot of the guys, need to be computer skills, trainability. So, you get a whole lot of lessons in the first few days that you're there without much sleep. Then you're expected to recall those skills at different points throughout the course and replicate that and display those skills
and often without being able to take any notes either. So it's just visual, watching, listening, and trying to take in that information of those instructions or the lessons, and then throughout the course, as Horse is talking about, needing to be able to recall that and then usually practically physically apply it.
You've just had a 40-minute lesson on something, then replicate it over and over again with no sleep and food. And I remember setting up a pulley system that we'd been taught earlier in the course, and this is later in the course. We've had no sleep for a few days and no food. Set it up, pulling a vehicle along, and then
I was just going to say, the rover pulley system, and because they choose some of those tracks that you're not going to be able to push it up there. So having the equipment to implement and install that pulley system, again, you haven't taken any notes. You're going off what you recall and where you remember things being, and it's not in that same location where this vehicle is or the rover is, that you've got to get up to this point and or then further on to another destination. It's recalling what you visually saw, what you heard, and the explanations that were given to you during that lesson. So it's cool, man. It's awesome.
And you got to reset and reset it again, and then went to do it the third time and go, I've forgotten how to do it. So the sleep deprivation and it just has that effect on it. So being able to replicate those skills to a certain extent is really important and tough too, because what lack of sleep does to you just sends you retarded. Under
that pressure and lack of sleep, it strips you down to its rawest, isn't it? And that's where the character of a person would come out, and the skill set and everything that you need.
Yeah, and that's where you're truly exposed, and you have people that really just wanted to do it because they thought that it was a good idea, or they make somebody else proud, but it's not really something they wanted to do. And so then they start going, oh, look, I don't want to do this anymore, my family. You're like, well, you didn't think about that before, but these sort of things start to come up. Yeah. And then, once you get exposed, whether you recognise it yourself that you don't belong there, the staff recognise whether you belong there or not pretty quickly.
And you made an interesting point, but I see where you're coming from in that. What do you want to do it now? I imagine how cool would it be? I'm in the SAS. There's that, and people would be driven by that. What do you want to do? I want to be in the SAS, but without really thinking about it. But your mentality, if I'm understanding it here, is you were going to be in the SAS. This is what I've always wanted to do, and failure was not an option for you.
No. I had done clearance diver selection and passed that previously, and had to transfer into the Navy, but that's because SO Command had lost my application for SAS and gone, stuff, yes, I'm going to go and do this. And then they found it and said, oh, you're on pre-selection in a few weeks, and then selection's a couple of weeks after that.
Right.
Unfortunately, I was pretty fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. He did the clearance diver selection as well. I did not know that. There's lots of stuff I'm learning here about horse that I didn't know. And not that, because even though we were in the regiment at the same time, we weren't serving in the same squadron again, and we weren't in the same troop. I don't know. I'm assuming horse probably went to water operators. That's where I'm assuming he went. If they would have known that he's passed and done the clearance divers, so they would have likely snapped him up for water operators, I'm assuming. But I'm just grateful for the time that I did get to spend with horse. But sitting here, listening to this, reacting to it, hearing him open up and talk a little bit about some of the stuff that he was fortunate to do, not in a boastful way, but that's pretty awesome. And that's pretty intense, passing the Navy clearance divers course. From what I've seen, I've done a couple of reactions to that process. Massive respect, man. It's very cool to hear. A bit of a pain, I would have imagined, the SOCOM losing his application for selection, but him just going, oh, well, buggears, I'm going to go and do this. And then just coming back over and closing out that loop of what he believed he was always going to do, where he was always going to be. Interesting hearing the host say that failure wasn't an option. I know I've spoken about that. I think it might have been in a reaction, or it might have been in a Q&A. But yeah, definitely failure is always an option, in my opinion anyway, my experience. Because as Horst spoke about, he said he believes anybody could probably finish selection, complete, get to the end, but whether or not you get picked up based on what you're displaying and the attributes, etc., throughout, with that very little sleep, little to no sleep, no food, traveling long distances under heavy load and watchful eyes, who are fresh, who are eating, who are getting well rested, it's it can start to weigh heavy on the individuals. And then also the comment around some people want to do it because they think it sounds cool. Maybe it does, to other people, but I never met any badged operator. This is just me. I never met any badged operator that was in that then went around, telling the world that they were in the unit and actively serving. They're usually quiet. They've usually got a fairly decent cover story. What do you do? I'm in the army. Oh, what do you do in the army? Oh, infantry. That usually just stops the conversation. I knew some guys that said, oh, I'm a cook, because they were a bit of a pretty handy in the kitchen. So their cover story when they're, oh, I'm in the army. What do you do in the army? Oh, I'm a cook. I cook for the troops. And like, oh, and then that usually just shut down the conversations as well. But anyway.
You got through selection, but that's not the end of, you can't rest on your laurels then. A lot of the training starts at that point.
No, so then you've got an 18 months pipeline to go through.
Quiet. I've been told to ignore you. I'm going to put it in practice.
Yep. You ignore those eyes.
Jeez, he breaks me down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. They it's a superpower. Those eyes get you, don't they?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at them.
Okay.
It's like a gorgon. You turns you to stone. Where was I? Yeah. So the selection course, and then it's about an 18-month pipeline before you get into the squadron. And so you've got all these different skill sets. So
I think that 18 months can vary, and I think it does vary, because it certainly wasn't 18 months by the time at least my cohort got into a squadron anyway. It was probably more around the 10-month, maybe 8 to 10 month, 8 to 12 month mark, somewhere around there, getting through all the courses. There was and included in that, there was a moment there where I mentioned Horse and I were on the same CQB course, so I think there was that phase or element that from my cohort hadn't completed, so we ended up combining with Horse and his cohort, RS, and the other guys from their cohort, from their selection, who had passed their selection, and they're onto their cycle, and we did that course together, which was cool. It was cool to, we were pretty fresh. I was still fresh and newly badged member in the unit, and these guys were, fairly deep into their cycle. So they would have been nearing the end, I think, at that time. And for us, it was one of those courses that we had to pick up and complete. So, yeah, good memories.
some are physical, and then you've got mental ones. So I did medical. The guys do comms and driving, shooting, patrolling, counter-terrorist duty, urban ops, CQB. And so at any point you can fail one of those, and you might get invited back the next year, but it sort of sets you back till the next year. So it's constant. And so maintaining that focus and the fitness without getting injured, and then assimilating those lessons and presenting the instructors with those skill sets to the required standard is it's kind of fun. It was the best couple of years of your life too, because you've got that one group of guys that you're always with, and so it's quite a bonding experience. And so these friendships are forged under pressure.
And when you went for selection and got in the SAS too, we were at war, so it was fairly clear where you would be going and where you would be deployed. It wasn't a case of, okay, I'm going to practice and train. You were going to be deployed.
Yep.
Did that cross your mind, and you weighed all that up?
Couldn't wait to get there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we could. Maybe that's not such a smart thing, but be careful what you wish for.
I do understand.
Yeah. And so you just want to get out there and put that. I've done the training, and I want to get after it.
So, how many times were you deployed in Afghanistan?
I think 6 or 7.
With the SAS.
Yeah.
And towards the latter part, you're as a commander, patrol commander.
It was 2 IC, and then kind of after I got promoted after our last rotation to patrol commander. So
right, okay.
And unfortunately, then I had surgery and I got 2 new hips.
Right,
and I kind of
you're moving around all right for 2 new hips.
Yeah, well, they're the best joints in my body.
Man, not surprised with the work that he's done, but I think might have been part 1 of the reaction. He had broken his pelvis as well, which I didn't know before he went on selection. So, there's some scarring and healing and stuff there, and the fact that he's now got two hip replacements by the sounds of things, and to still keep his sense of humour. They're the best joints in his body. Man, he's put himself through it. He's put his body physically through it, himself physically and mentally. And I'm just really stoked to see him. Still got the same big smile, even though I'm mentioning the other reactions. He sounds a little bit different to me when he's speaking. But it's cool, man. It's good to see him. Big smile on his face. Still a happy-go-lucky type fellow who's carrying some scars, I didn't know that he was diagnosed with PTSD. So hopefully one day I can reconnect with the big fella again down the track.
Upgraded.
Yeah.
Upgraded. Okay, your first deployment, and I look, we're talking light about this, but I think something that came across in the movie, in the documentary, Bravery and Betrayal, was the work that you're doing. Like, you weren't going over there and something might happen. You were going looking for something to happen. That was the nature of your duties over there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we were hunting people, essentially. So you don't go out there to avoid trouble, I guess.
Yeah.
And then at the start, you go outside the gate and you get into a gunfight, and then you have to go further to get a gunfight. So we were having a stabilizing effect, which then enabled the regular forces to come in and start doing that mentoring and reconstructing. At the early days, we were doing a lot of reconnaissance with the vehicles and driving all over the countryside, getting some situational awareness, and then as the bubble expanded of stability, I guess you call it, around Tarin Kowt, that sort of evolved into the kill capture missions, where we were targeting hierarchy, and the American helicopters really helped us with that.
Yep.
When we didn't have them, we'd drive out and park up and then walk to 10 kilometers to the target. So we sort of offset and then walk in. So that was.
So, and that was, again, it played out in the documentary, but initially you had vehicles that you had to get to your locations, and then you got the American helicopters dropping you in closer.
And so, as I said before, I was lucky that I was there for so many rotations early days, because I got to see the spike in the IED, so the change in tactics by the enemy. They went from, well, we're getting our asses kicked in gunfights, so let's start laying IEDs. And so I was I was riding around on a 6-wheel motorbike with a dog box on the back, so I was very cognizant of that rise in the threat. So I found I rode around the IEDs instead of over them.
Can you just explain what we're talking about there?
Yeah, it's an improvised explosive device. So it's basically a homemade explosive. So they get ammonium nitrate and some fuel oil, and then they'll make up that goes high order, explodes. They'll have an initiating charge within that, and so that'll be buried under the ground with a pressure plate that as you drive over it, it'll make the contact with the batteries and set the charge off. But I was in 9 vehicle packets that had to hit IEDs, so I got to see where they were put and start to understand it, and that's sort of played out the next year when I was in the vehicle in front of Sean McCarthy, but I drove around that spot.
Right.
Unfortunately, they didn't see where we went and then hit that IED.
It is the nature of war, but it's
That's tough, man. Oh, just seeing the time. Just in that situation there, some people might be wondering, or wouldn't they communicate, or wouldn't there have been some communication? I don't know. I assume there would have been, but also that assumption, like it can happen at anywhere, anytime, to anyone. We all know what happens when we assume, and so sadly it sounds like Horse identified and saw what he thought may have been an IED location, went around, and the other vehicle maybe didn't see it that way, or didn't see the need to follow directly behind the vehicle. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't communicated. Maybe it could have been communicated. I don't know. I wasn't there. But what I'm enjoying is listening to Horse share some of these experiences, and just bearing in mind, like, we're not getting the full context of what I think. Well, not what I think. What I like about what the host is doing is, it seems to me like he's been very, and he's probably had a conversation with Horse before they've started their interview, but it seems like he's been very respectful and cautious in terms of his questioning and how much detail he goes into things, or how much he presses Horse for information in and around it. And it's cool. I really like that. Sorry, I don't know this guy's name. I'll need to find out what his name is, but I'll find that out before the next reaction. Anyway, I'll leave this one here. Appreciate your time if you made it this far listening to me babble on. Hopefully you've been enjoying listening to Horse speak and the host as well. Apologies again that I don't know the host of the Eye Catch Killers podcast name yet, but I'll find it out. And with that being said, the message is always the same, just regardless of those difficulties and challenges that you may be facing, I just encourage you, whether it's you or somebody that you know, to just keep turning up, stay in the fight, put one foot in front of the other, take one day at a time. Know and trust that things can do and will get better if you want them to. You just have to want them to. The sun will shine again. There are better days ahead, and there is a light at the end of that tunnel, I promise you. You're not alone. It's okay to not be okay, and it's more than okay to ask for help if you need to. So do what you need to do to stay in that fight. As always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.